Originally intended as an optional side story, the tale of the Kiryu twins eventually grew so large that director Shibata decided to refocus one of Fatal Frame 2's chapters and dedicate it almost entirely to them. Although their story ended long before the repentance that wiped out Minakami Village, their tale serves to deepen our understanding of the ritual, while also fleshing out the village's horrifying backstory a little more. So this week, let's take a look at what really happened in the Kiryu house all those years ago, uncover why the family was entirely wiped out, and why Mio encounters their spirits in the present. As always, this video is full of spoilers. It's unknown exactly when the tale of the Kiryu twins takes place. All we know is that it was some time before Saya and Yae's time, placing them at the very earliest a few decades before their story, but potentially much earlier. In Mio's notes in the original game, she simply tells us that their story happened long before the repentance. The remake also features a doll manual explaining mechanical dolls that comes from the Edo period, which finished in 1868. So it's likely they were around sometime during the early 1800s, or even earlier than that. Either way, by this point, the Kiryu family has been whittled down to just 3 people. Yoshitatsu, a doll maker and skilled engineer, and his twin daughters, Akane and Azami. When it came time for Minakami Village to perform the Crimson Sacrifice ritual again, the only suitable twins were, unfortunately, Akane and Azami. They were much younger than the usual age the village preferred, which was generally around 15 or 16. But with no other twins available, they had no other choice. Because of their young age, Akane struggled with actually killing her sister. Not mentally, but physically, she wasn't quite strong enough. This lack of strength apparently made things even harder for her sister, Azami, who was in pain when I tried to do it alone. One of the veiled priests offered to help, but the twins rejected him. Azami wished for her sister, and her sister alone, to finish the job, even if it was becoming more painful and drawn out for her. In the end, Akane succeeded and Azami was sacrificed, turning into a crimson butterfly. The ritual was a success. However, it took a heavy toll on the young Akane, this time mentally, as she fell into a depression with the loss of her sister. So Azami and I became one again. But now she's gone. Now I can't talk to her anymore. Wanting to help his only remaining daughter, Yoshitatsu set to work on creating a doll that looked just like Azami. He was so skilled that when he was done, this doll looked exactly like her. So much so that, unless you got right up close to it, it looked like the real thing. And this twin doll appeared to do its job, as Yoshitatsu watched his daughter regain her vigor and life. She spent all her time talking to it, as though it really was her sister. And for at least a brief period of time, things seemed to return to normal. But of course, treating an inanimate object as something real never ends well. Last night, I heard footsteps, Yoshitatsu wrote in one of his notes. I thought it was Akane, but it was really Azami, walking by herself. As it turned out, an evil spirit had taken up residence in the doll, and it is said that when a spirit takes residence in a doll, it can steal the soul of others. Having just lost one of his daughters, Yoshitatsu didn't want to lose another. But now this doll that he himself had created was trying to steal Akane's soul as well. The doll was controlling her, making her do its bidding. Yoshitatsu informed his daughter of this, telling her that they had to kill her again. But that was simply not something Akane could let happen. She refused to lose her sister again, and made a promise to stay together forever. Yet, the real Azami, now a crimson butterfly, also returned in an attempt to help her sister, who was being led astray by this evil spirit. Being too young to understand what was going on, Akane noted that 2 Azamis appeared before her. one with a butterfly, but she couldn't hear what this one was trying to say. The doll's voice was too loud. The real Azami was, of course, trying to tell her sister to kill the doll. She was already with her. That was the point of the Crimson Sacrifice ritual. They had already become one, even if she physically was no longer there. Azami also appeared before her father and asked him to kill the doll. However, the twin doll had also cottoned onto the fact that they were trying to get rid of it, and it convinced Akane to hide the various doll parts needed to activate the doll mechanisms in the doll room of the Kiryu house. Why go to all this trouble? Because these dolls were actually a lock, if you will, that kept the door leading to the Earth Bridge closed. In order to kill the twin doll, they would have to first hang it, and then toss its body into the abyss, and the only way for Yoshitatsu to access the abyss was through the Earth Bridge beneath their house. If he couldn't access that, then he couldn't throw away the doll. He couldn't kill it. And obviously, the doll didn't want that. None of this was easy for Yoshitatsu. He was already not a fan of the fact the village had to carry out the Crimson Sacrifice ritual, and now he was being forced to, in essence, kill his daughter again, and forcing his only surviving daughter to relive that loss again. Not to mention that by tossing the doll into the abyss, he would likely go blind. Merely seeing the abyss had that effect, after all. And if he suddenly went blind, well, the villagers would know that he had committed a grave taboo. This would lead to him, and by extension his daughter, being ostracized by the rest of the villagers. But if it would save his daughter, it was a risk he was willing to take. Unfortunately, the doll got to him first. It convinced Akane to kill her father, lest he kill her first. Akane couldn't have that, and so she choked her father to death. And that is as much as the game outright tells us. At some point after that, Akane also died, presumably because of the doll, and the Kiryu family was wiped out. The folklorist Makabe Seijiro, who visited Minakami village shortly before the repentance, tells us in some of his notes that the Kurosawa family installed a distant relative in the house to continue the Kiryu family name, as the twin houses were necessary for the Crimson Sacrifice ritual. But for all intents and purposes, the Kiryu family was now gone. Much of the house was left as is, and only the locations necessary for the ritual were used. But what really happened to Akane after her father's death? The game does give us some hints, although nothing is ever confirmed. When Mio and Mayu are trapped in the village and enter the Osaka house, Mayu has a vision of various horrifying events that have occurred in the village over the years. One of the images she sees is two girls hanging in a hallway. These twins are wearing the exact same kimonos that Akane and the twin doll were wearing, and they're hanging in the Kurosawa house. It wouldn't have taken long for the other villagers to realize that Yoshitatsu was now dead, and only his daughter and her creepy doll remained. He also left notes around the house detailing how that doll had to be killed, which involved hanging it and then tossing it into the abyss. It's not too much of a stretch to imagine that the villagers, seeing that Akane had killed her father, then punished both her and the doll by taking them in and hanging them both, which is what Mayu sees in her vision. However, because it's taboo to go down to the abyss, they likely skipped that part, which is why Mio then finds both the doll and Akane's spirit still in the Kiryu house by the events of the game. By not finishing the job, the twin doll simply returned to the house and continued quietly haunting it, now with the spirit of Akane by its side. This is also perhaps why Azami's spirit helps Mio locate the missing doll parts, something her father wasn't able to do. Even in death, her sister is still being fooled by that doll. But if Mio is able to successfully carry out the Crimson Sacrifice ritual, then all of the spirits in the village should be saved, including her sister. It's important to keep in mind, however, that the game never officially tells us what happened to Akane after her father's death. So, although we can have a good guess thanks to what the game shows and tells us, ultimately, it remains a mystery. But what did you guys think of this one? Are there any other bits of lore you'd like to see me cover? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.